what we're going to do today is test out a few things. First, a couple shout-outs. First shout-out to Anthropic for letting us host this event. There are Anthropic ambassadorships happening all over the country and the world right now. And so I have this esteemed pleasure to host these events once a month. And it's kind of insane how fast this platform has grown. And you guys being here today are proof positive of it. So shout out to them. Also, shout out to Station Austin. You guys might see this branding of Capital Factor everywhere, but quick tip, everything is changing to Station Austin over the next couple of months. So get that name in your head. And I don't see Elijah anywhere, but just giving him a big shout out. And so, what are we actually here to do today? We are gonna first break out into some sessions. And there are gonna be three kind of subgroups of topics. The reason for that is when you guys signed up, you had filled out something you might remember and said, hey, what are you interested in and talking about? And the top three things that you guys brought up were AI agents and orchestration, MCP and token optimization, and agentic harnesses. And so in about a minute, we're gonna break out into those groups for about a half an hour, and then right around 7 o'clock, I'm gonna hop back up on stage, get you guys back together, and we are gonna hear from 3 developers that are doing demos. They're all built on Claude Code. And so, if you guys wouldn't mind, we are gonna get moving. And so, if you are interested in AI agents and orchestration, you're gonna find Chase over here. And you can come over and meet with Chase and start a talk with him. It'll be some really well-rounded conversations. If you guys are interested in MCPs or token optimization, you can talk to my friend Victor over here. And if you guys are interested in agentic harnesses, you can meet me, which about 10 steps back that way. And if you guys don't care about any of those things, you can just keep seated where you are. But there's not gonna be much else going on for the next half an hour. And so we'll see you guys back here. Sorry. No worries, my friend. And so AI agents in multi-agent orchestration is a pretty popular topic in Claude Code right now. And so that means running many agents back to back to back through multi-agent loops to create more complex tasks. About 32 people on our RSVP list asked for that topic today. Token optimization is a common thing. If you guys are like me, you're hitting your limits pretty much every week on Claude Code right now. And so we got a problem on our hands, right? We want to do more coding and build more projects, but there's just not enough tokens to go around. And so we'll be sharing some tips and tricks on token optimization and also MCPs. And then agentic harnesses are building just different kinds of harnesses that you wrap around models, things like that, to do further, deeper coding, like you've heard of people doing like autonomous agents, development loops, things like that. It's more on the bleeding edge, but definitely going to be the topic of 2026. So, one more time, if you guys want to talk about AI agents and orchestration, go see Chase. If you want to talk about MCP and token optimization, go see Victor. And if you want to talk about the harnesses, come see me. Otherwise, we'll see you guys back here at 7 o'clock for some demos. Thank you.
than from genuine music. And the basis is that instead of using Cloud 4.6 for everything, you divide your problem, or let's say your step-by-step problem, and decide to use different smaller tools to simpler tasks, and you maybe are able to use more curated data for the bigger problem. So for example, instead of using for summarization for 4.6, you're able to use hiking. That is much smaller
Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Okay. My pocket? Yeah, yeah. That works. Hey, your name is Rihanna? Thank you so much.
Hello, 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 everyone. All right. If you don't mind, we are going to start the next fun part of the day in a moment. Let everyone kind of wrap their conversations for a few seconds. Okay, so first off, first time doing that format, guys. Show of hands, did you guys like the format with the breakout rooms, or should we junk it for the next time we do this event? Mics, okay. All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, I don't see a lot of hands up, so we might go back to the well. Okay, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, beautiful. Okay, cool, cool. Thanks, guys. This event is our event, guys. I might be the host, or you might see some volunteers around, but this event is for all of us to grow our community here in Austin. So we're kind of figuring things out as we go, right? And so if you guys have ideas, topics that you want to hear about next month, please let us know. We're going to be here on the second Monday every month until the end of the year. And so lots of time to talk about lots of different things. And with that, we are getting on to the fun part of the day, which is our set of demos. Real quick, I always do this at all of our events. I try to give a quick tip. And so my quick tip of this month, first a question. Who thinks Anthropic releases features faster than any company in like the history of the world? Okay, so it's not just me. Beautiful. So what you guys want to do, the way that I keep up on features is I look at Anthropic's changelog every single morning. And to me, that's the #1 way to keep up on that. So if you guys have never looked at the changelog, you should, because pretty much every single day you're going to see something there. And so that's it. All right. So we're moving on now, and I'd like to bring to the stage our first demo of the day. Rick Hightower came to our first event in Cafe Bennu back in snowy January. Maybe snowy? I don't know. Cold January. But anyways, we're here today, and we're going to bring Rick on, and he's going to tell us about Spillwave, right?
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks. So this talk, it's actually there's a companion article as well, but it's on Medium. It's going to go in a lot more detail than I can do in 10 minutes. But essentially, we started this research agent for writing white papers for customers and evaluating different frameworks, et cetera. And it sort of evolved over time. So it started as a bunch of agent skills, and then it worked, but as it evolved, we started using adversarial sub-agents. So we have, agents that do work, and then agents that grade that work, and then we kind of iterate. And then the third version, we switched to Claude Agent SDK so that we could get a more deterministic, basically a more deterministic harness. So I'll just walk through this. So it was a research. The first version, it was fast, it was scrappy, it was nice, it was something you could do quickly. And then sort of each version builds on the previous version. So it's nice, but if the topic was too big, the fact checkers, which it would like go out to Perplexity and go out to Context 7, and the fact checkers wouldn't always work. So because everything was running in the same context, basically running in the same agent, and you had a series of skills that would run sequentially, and you get a lot of context rot. So what we did in so then of course we had the second version that uses the sub-agents that does a couple of things. One, you get very focused context for the task at hand. And then the third version uses the Claude Agent SDK, which gives you very deterministic rules and validation, which makes it run a lot smoother. So these are some of the things that we're trying to avoid, the retries, not working, or it would run, but it would take longer because everything was sequential. And really, even though we were reaching out to Perplexity and we were reaching out to Context 7 for fact checking, it was really just running inside of the same agent. Agents aren't really great at grading themselves. You know, they're kind of like if you ask a kindergartner what he thinks of his artwork, it's going to probably think pretty highly of it. So yeah, it's kind of like that. So what we wanted to do is create something that was more adversarial. So we broke it up where we have a main agentic skill, and that delegates to a series of doers that are doing stuff, and they're completely separate from judges that judge the stuff they're doing. So the adversarial aspect. So the judge will grade it, it'll kick it back. If it's below a certain score, you have the orchestrator agent that'll say, okay, well, it didn't score high enough. Here's the list of things, go and fix them. And then there's high priority. If there's a high priority fix, it always gets rejected. If it's lower priority, it could move forward even with let's say it got a 70 or 80%. The judge said it was 70 or 80%, but there was nothing critical, it could pass forward. But it's based off of a prompt, right? So you have the agent is basically the sub-agent that it's a prompt, so it's natural language. So again, it may be, it's not deterministic, right? If it's going to do the grading or not the way that you want it. It's pretty good. It's better than the first version. The results were much richer, and one of the reasons why the results were much richer is what we did is we divided up the research paper into 5 sections. Each section has the main part, which is this kind of square at the bottom. I guess my mouse isn't showing, but it's the square at the bottom. And then we have the outline, and then we have an abstract of the article. And then we have the summaries of what happened before and after. So there's some additional context, but the overall size is much smaller. It's about a fourth to a third of the size of what it would have been. So if you're doing a pretty large research paper, you get better fidelity because you're not worrying about context raw. So the thing that you're trying to avoid is that U-shaped phenomenon, right? Where at the beginning of the data, the context, it's going to pay a lot of attention. At the end, it's going to pay a lot of attention, but the middle kind of gets ignored, and that can be compounded based on the side. The other thing that you're trying to avoid is, and this is that context rot, right? The other thing you're trying to avoid is context panic, right? So if you're running all of these things in a single context, and you've got all these checkers, all these rules, all these back and forth validation, that context is filled with that information. By breaking out into subagents, each subagent has its own context, so it doesn't pollute the others, and you're not using it all, so you don't have that context panic. And what happens when you have context panic? Does anyone know? What's that? Clep? Collapse? No. It basically will rush. So if you ever like earlier days, you generated a bunch of code and it said it was done, but it's really not. There's a bunch of to-dos. You're like, what, done? Or it says, yeah, I ran all the tests, and you check and it didn't run all the tests. That's usually a sign of context panic. So as the LLM gets closer to its limit, it just starts rushing. Yes, sir. Oh, timing. Okay, thanks. So what we moved to next was a more, so instead of putting things just in the subagent, we moved it out and we put it into Claude Agent SDK, which used to be called Claude Code SDK. So the Claude Agent SDK essentially allows you to have more deterministic rules, and you can guarantee that they'll get followed because it's code, it's not just instructions that may or may not get called. So this is the idea behind it. It's more boring, but it's more deterministic. It has state, it can be restarted. So you get these additional features by using the Claude Code SDK. Just kind of wrap it up there. And the idea was to really focus on the quality, right? Because if you've got a research and it's got hallucinations, and it's pretty bad for your brand, So, so putting those constructs in there that harness to get better quality, and we certainly saw that, and not only better quality without hallucinations, but just better quality in general, because the way that it was divided, it could focus and then work on those sections. So that's and there's an article if you want. There's a lot more material, but a minute or two, okay. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, oh, I see what you're saying. I've done that, but no, in this case, it's just a sub-agent, right? I believe it is all Opus, but it's a sub-agent that's a separate context, so it's like a different person. It doesn't know, if it were all in one, the papers and my experiences, it grades itself rather well. But if you kind of separate those roles, so one agent does the work, another agent does the grading, that you get a lot better result. Yes, sir. Woof. No. No. So the very first version, which could have hallucinations, was faster and cheaper, but the results weren't great. They were good, but they weren't great. The second version, it took about twice as long. And I'd say the third version, it's probably 2.5 the first, but the quality's much better. And what's really good about it is sometimes you'll have sources when you're doing fact checking, and one source will say one thing, another source says the other. And it really doesn't know, right? Because it's got both, and it's like, well, it's either this or this. So it will basically kick it to the editor, the person, and say, hey, I've got two conflicting pieces of information, so I need you to basically the human in the loop, which is the second version didn't have that, so it's nice. So I think, yeah, it's more expensive, but it's probably worth it for what we're doing. Yes, sir.
I've always been reluctant to use the agent's SDK because it's API usage, and I'm just wondering if that still makes sense to pay like 10 times more versus.
Oh, no, it works right with your Max plan.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. I didn't know that either until I asked, and it said, yeah, it does. And then I ran it. It does. But it's cool. It'll actually tell you there's a little budget thing, and it'll tell you how much it would have cost if you ran it with the SDK. And I've run things that would have cost $75. It's just part of my Max plan. So the worst case is I run out of tokens a little earlier that week. Anyone else double max? Probably. Yes, sir. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I would say just the what I like is when it would find two sets of facts that disagreed with each other and just kicks it to you. And usually what I end up doing is just softening it, right? So I'll say sources say between 5 and 10. I don't like, and maybe I'll create a step that just says, okay, just soften the. Don't make hard claims if there's fuzz, But this, I think the hardest project was not this, but we worked on another project that we used a lot of harness engineering, me and Chris, and it was a very custom data model using DAX, and at that time, the LLMs didn't really know much about DAX, and this was before agent skills, so we basically created synthetic books for DAX, and then had to figure out what they were trying to do and then load those chapters of the book, if you will, into the context. I think that was the most complicated thing that I've worked on. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is running on it's all Claude Code. The SDK, like I said, the Claude Code SDK, which was originally called, it's originally called the Claude Code SDK. They changed it to the Claude Agent SDK, but it uses the same Max plan. And underneath the covers, it's delegating to Claude. So it's using the same subagents, it's using the same skills. It just adds more rigor around the workflow. So it's not just all the workflow. I think it's really important that the workflow be code and be very deterministic, and then, you know, the sort of guide the process.
All right, everyone. Let's give it up for Rick.
Thank you, thank you.
So, fun story about Rick. Rick and I actually got coffee together last week in North Austin. And he was telling me a story about a friend of his that vibe codes while driving, while being a full-time truck driver. And so he only uses voice mode, apparently, and puts out full production apps of it. Wild. So just in case you guys thought you were working hard enough, there's always someone else, right? All right, we're ready for our next demo. Suki, are you ready to go, my friend? While Suki is getting set up, I just want to take a second to give a shout out to all the volunteers that helped out today. Chase, you're over there. Victor, I see you over there. Rihanna, you're there. Chris, you're taking photos somewhere. Can you guys just give our volunteers a round of applause, please? Right, cool. And for future events, if you guys want to demo, please reach out to me early. We had 24 different people that wanted to demo today and only 3 slots. And so it was tough to figure out, like, hey, who gets a chance? But we might make more time next month. And yeah, so reach out to me anytime. And just in general, if you guys are working on something cool, I want to meet all of you guys and hear about what you're working on.
Hi.
All right, guys, give it up for Suki.
All right. So I have about 7 minutes, so I'm going to start a timer here. So I'm cautious of the time. Hi, my name is Suki, and I'm sort of like a solo dev, and I'm going to be showing you pretty much my workflow, the workflow I built with Claude Code, to ship a full app on both the iOS and Android store, basically. Now, this is Next Social, and it's an event-driven social app, and it's an app where everything you post is highly contextual. So everything you post is tied to a live event that you're attending, like this one, for instance. Like I said, it's live on both App Store and Google Play Store. And I built it using Flutter as a framework and Firebase as a backend. And like I said earlier, I'm the only one on this, like almost everybody these days. So your mileage may vary. I found out that there are like a lot of amazing Claude Code workflows there on the internet. So you have, you go on YouTube, you go on Twitter, you would see a whole lot of them. You name it, I've watched a whole lot of them. But I pretty much found out that it makes more sense to just stop the chase. Pretty much stop chasing shiny objects. And it made more sense to figure out what workflow works for you and pretty much going from there. And this is a culmination of about 2 years. Started out with Climb, and then moved to Root Code, and then over time, Claude Code became the rave it is today. So my daily workflow, every feature pretty much starts out with this workflow. Basically, I always go through this workflow to build every feature. And it starts with a brainstorm. I talk through whatever idea it is I'm trying to build or whatever feature it is I'm trying to build. And that gets captured as a PRD in my Obsidian Vault. And after the PRD, I pretty much plan against that PRD. Nothing is done from memory, nothing is done from the chat. Everything is from the actual document itself. And then I go through the run plan, which takes both the PRD and the plan. And it pretty much assesses the scope and dynamically decides how many agents to allocate to the task based on the scope. The verify feature checks all the wirings and code review. For my code review, I usually try to do that in a fresh session. And the reason for that is so there is no bias introduced based on the implementation conversation that I've had with the agents. So I want no bias, I want like fresh opinion for that. So all in all, I have about 32 slash commands. I'm not gonna go through everything here because time. And one PRD that's threaded all through. Now, the first one is the brainstorm. Every feature, like I said earlier, starts here. And the brainstorm is highly opinionated. I created it that way specifically. I want it to be opinionated. It reads my code base first. It doesn't ask me silly questions that I can just figure out from the code base. It gives me concrete options with trade-offs that I get to pick from. I know Claude has this ask question, ask feature, but I stopped using that a while ago and just went with the brainstorming that I built myself. And it will usually recommend one with a concrete enough reason, as you can see there. And here, as you can see, it's pretty much exploring my code base. I just did /command brainstorm and then whatever feature it is I'm trying to build. And it gives me options and asks me for my stance based on the options that it gave to me. It doesn't give me an open-ended question, just go straight to the point. So the PRD itself is a thread. It pretty much follows all through my workflow. So once we converge, I run one command, which is pretty much the Obsidian note-taking command. And this command captures everything as a PRD in my Obsidian vault. The Obsidian vault itself is an entirely different repo, but everything is added as a directory into my current working session, basically. Now, key decisions and open questions, as well as architecture, are all structured, basically. Nothing is lost in context. And this becomes a single source of truth all through my session itself. As you can see on line 7, it's referencing the Obsidian source within the plan itself, so it knows exactly what the PRD talks about. Now, every command downstream, from the run plans to verify feature to code review, they all read the same PRD. And that's pretty much how context survives across sessions. So even if I exit session, I know right now Claude has a million context window, which is amazing. So a lot of these features, I can literally build them in a single context. But before that, when Claude was still around like 200K to 50K, I would usually have to clear context when I got into like, I would say 50% or less to start. And then this the one way that I know that I'm able to preserve context throughout my coding session. Dynamic execution. So I don't choose how many agents gets to be spinned up. The system reads the scope and decides by itself. So I wrote a lot of these / commands to make it decide what the scope is and how many subagents to spin up. And here, for instance, you would see that the quick plan launched 2 exploratory agents, one for architecture and one for the affected code. As you can see, I don't know if my mouse, okay, yeah, my mouse, yeah. So you see that it actually launched 2 subagents, one for the architecture and one for the other one. And then if the feature is trivial itself, it just makes the edits inline. If the feature itself is a really big feature, it launches 2 or 3 subagents. And if it's a really large feature, it builds them in waves and pretty much goes from there. And I usually work in work trees just so I can build multiple features at the same time. I would need to rush through the rest because my time is up. And then after the after the plan has been executed, I have like a verification and review step that goes through. So after building the system checks its own work against the spec, not just the code quality itself. So verify feature traces every user journey itself, and then it goes through the code. And here, as you can see, it found a bug in here, somewhere here. And it pretty much went and fixed the bug by itself. And then as soon as all the features are verified against the plan, I pretty much run a code review and it reviews all the code, as you can see here. And for the code review, we're able to find like 3 security issues, 6 warnings, and 3 suggestions. After that, I run a fixed review, which goes through and fixes everything. And from here, you can see that out of the 12 findings, it's fixed 10, it skipped 2, and it gave clear reasons. I pretty much made it so it doesn't just go and fixes everything if there is no need to fix some. And the reason it skips one of those was because one needed like a large refactor, which made no sense to fix within the session. So, and also one was pretty much an intentional code decision. So it pretty much skipped that as well. And also skipped items that are worth tracking, they all get automatically filed as a Git issue. So nothing falls through the cracks. And then lastly, I test on device and ship, basically. So that's pretty much my entire workflow in building apps, basically. And this has worked phenomenally. And that's the app itself. It's currently available on both iOS as well as Android Play Store. Like I said earlier, my name is Suki, and I'm happy to chat about this after this event. Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
All right, guys, one more time, give it up for Suki. Awesome. Great presentation, my friend. Thank you so much. So if you guys liked what you saw today, you think we can make it better, our next event here will be on Monday, May 11th, same time. And so RSVP for that should show up in about 3 to 4 days. So just keep it on your radar if you guys want to come back, present, talk, help us with the format, things like that. So while we're getting set up for Robert, how many people in the crowd are using Claude Cowork? Okay. Cool. It's a size that's more than I expected, right? So one thing we might consider as well is doing a specific Claude Cowork event over the next couple of months. So if you guys are interested in that, come talk to me. And it looks like we're set up for our next presenter. Robert, you ready to go?
I find myself living in between the space of Claude Code and Claude Cowork.
Yeah, me too. They're all my whole life is converging around Claude in one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Anyways, all right, guys, give it up for Robert.
All right, thank you. So I started my own consultancy about 3 years ago where I work with law firms to help them adopt AI into their practice. Why did I choose law? Well, one, I find it intellectually stimulating, but also significant intelligence arbitrage, like off the charts. So to me, it's just a target-rich environment. And it's a fun subject to work with. So my background, I was enterprise software for about 35 years, mostly as a professional product manager. So always wanted to start my own consultancy, kind of just myself. And product manager's dream is to be able to live with the customer, if you will, right? And so I finally get to do everything I've always wanted to do that I never got to do as a product manager working in enterprise. It's very difficult to do that. So anyways, that's why I got into this. My partner, Fred, couldn't be here. I do a lot of work with him. So we work with criminal defense attorneys. A lot of the FBI agents, they're mandatory retirement at 26 years, and they have to, usually they'll work as investigators. So Fred he's a CPA, and he's also a CFF, which is Certified in Forensic Financials. And that is a That is a badass certification. That is like some dope shit. It's like really, really good. And it's not the test, it's the amount of time it takes to be able to take the test. So I've been working with him. You know, a lot of people, when they think about how is AI being used in law, pretty much any of the law firms, we're not drafting documents that are gonna be submitted. We don't do any of that. We're actually working on discovery. We're looking for patterns, right? We're trying to gobble up a lot of evidence, right? So that's the focus. In this case, it all starts with the bank statements. We're given PDF bank statements. This is a lot of, you know, we try to get what we can, white collar crime. A lot of times sometimes you'll get jangly PDFs that were like copied 3 or 4 different times, and oh my gosh, there's just trying to extract data from PDFs is absolutely the bane of my existence. But I will talk to you about some things that I've learned in using Claude Code, and its ability to select the right libraries has dramatically improved. I used to have to write my own custom Python libraries for that, and now Claude Code it just knows how to pick the right, the right extractor. So once we can get all this data into a spreadsheet, game over, right? Structured data, come on. That's heaven, right? So here's examples, some of the PDF libraries that are used. Again, kind of the point I wanted to make here is that really no single library works best. It's really just, man, a lot of it's just trying shit out, and figuring out how to, what works, what doesn't work. So hopefully, I think if I can start to tame this a little bit, we always talk about how we use software, deterministic software to tame probabilistic AI, right? And this is kind of this battle that we're going through right now. But man, you can tell it's almost around the corner, right? And the reason this is important is because you can start to automate these workflows, right? And I didn't think I would, if you asked me back in November, I'd be really working on true agentification in a legal workflow. I would say maybe 2027, but I think it's going to be this year. So it's moving faster. That's really the point I want to make. This kind of example of how using Claude Code on parsing and getting those transactions out. And then this is a typical workflow. So you start with the bank transaction. You standardize all the merchant data, and then that's when I start working. So I'm good at prompting, and I'm good at problem solving, but I really do need Fred, who's the former FBI agent, forensic financial analyst. He knows the questions to ask. It's just truly amazing. And working with professionals like this, you realize, conceptually when they talk about, hey, if you're really good at what you do, well, then AI is going to make you 10x. Man, it's true for this guy. And he didn't realize that AI was going to have that effect on it. And it did. He thought that, oh, this technology is not for me. No, now he can now start to, because we've compressed so much time, man, he can start going after new business. So, and then these are, man, the thing I'm most excited about, I'm building a skills graph specifically for forensic financials. And I was just talking to Victor earlier, and we were talking about, I was like, hey, bro, how often are you updating your MD files? He goes, oh, every day. I'm like, yeah, I'm constantly updating my MD files, right? I don't know if you're updating MD files, sir? Suki, yeah, I'm constantly having to, just to get the behavior that you want out of them. So I'm hoping I can start to, tame some of that. But these are the 8 that I'm working on. And I'll show you an example of the forensic bank one. You can see what the MD file looks like. All right, it's done. This is a good, yeah, here you go. This is something that I'm constantly updating. A lot of times if it's not performing the right behavior, but man, like I said, I'm not having to do this as often. And then finally, let me show you what the output looks like once we get to the spreadsheet. So, getting everything into a spreadsheet like this, again, at this point, we can do all the damage we want. And what does output look like? So this is what, when I run the forensics, you can see here we have an executive summary. This is where I need Fred for. He's really, So what's really cool is Claude Code does an amazing job. It's doing the forensic financials in the spreadsheet. Oh, with tabs. So, like, guys, this alone takes weeks for criminal investigations. Like, this is significant time compression. We're finding needles in the haystack. We're getting cases solved, closed, right? So this is having a huge impact. And so I could talk about other things, but I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So questions, yeah, we'll move to questions. But there's other things that I'm working on if you want to hear about. We can talk offline, but yeah, go ahead. So I do a lot of unit testing, like a product manager, right? So I'm constantly unit testing so it has to verify its work, right? But man, I saw some really nasty behavior like 9 months ago where it would just, to make the balance work, it would just fudge a number and put a line item in there. Oh my gosh. Like, anyways, but I think I fixed that. So, huh? Just updating my MD files and doing the unit testing. So what I do is I batch 1 month statement at a time. I tried batching a bunch, so if I do monthly batching, it's easier. I use less tokens, and it can check its work. So it has to. The cool thing is you can validate if the numbers add up, right? That's the beauty of working with numbers. So it's not difficult actually. You just got to tweak it. Question? No, that's a good question. I mean, I think there's a lot of room here, man. This should be an advertisement for get your ass in this industry, man. We need a lot of help here. We need that creativity, like thinking through skills, thinking through skill graphs and all that. I think it's just a huge opportunity right now. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the trickiest part, right? Kind of right out of Breaking Bad and stuff. It's just all these shell companies, and that's the hardest part. Right. I would say this, 80%, there's like a Pareto distribution on this, 80% is just what I would call run-of-the-mill, white-collar fraud, right? But when you start getting, I have yet to deal with too many sophisticated ones, but when you do get to those sophisticated ones, because I did have a RICO case we were working on, man, you need a whole army of lawyers for that. So still trying to figure out what the potential AI angle could be there. But I think there needs to be more tools to navigate the web of connections and stuff. But I've not tackled that. No, I'm not doing too much of that right now. My workflows are pretty straightforward. They're not automated. I'm the human in the loop at every step. But even with all that, the time compression is significant. So, yeah, I'd like to get there, man. I really really would, but I'm not there yet. Oh yeah, I'm more than happy to. Yeah, I think I'm a big open source guy, but massive open source guy. So, share the love, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. What's that? Yes. Yeah, I could. I haven't done that yet. Yeah, it's just lonely old me. But I'm always I get a lot of dealing with lawyers it's tough. When you earn their trust, it's a good place to be. But they're very demanding, especially when trial comes up. man, they put the hammer on you. It's like, so I can't do those types of things sometimes. So, yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. You're hitting on a really key point. If I had to say the most critical skill, the most critical thing that you have to do with an attorney, with a law firm, is onboard. And actually, we were just talking about this earlier, gentleman in the back. I go through a sequence of 30, 60, 90 days where, you know, if they're leaning into me and I'm there, first light bulb went off. Then I need to get the second light bulb to go off, right? And that requires a lot of hand-holding. And sometimes it takes time. And this is me with free access to the law firm. I can go in and out as I please. I can work with them. But once they start leaning in, they start prompting, they start realizing what they can do with it, so this to me is the hardest problem to solve for adoption, is this one right here, like by far. You have to go in, you have to set them up, you have to get their tool belt on, you have to show them, and you have to take it in steps. And this is something I learned working in the trenches with attorneys. I didn't have this insight prior, but you gotta work with them, you gotta get in the trenches with them. And then what I do is I just work on solving mundane automation types of problems. Like my very first use case was automated speech recognition for body cam videos, right? And then analyze that, right? And so that's a perfect example of that's probably the very first place every criminal defense attorney onboards to AI. Because DWIs bring in the money. They pay the bills. They don't make them rich, but they pay the bills. So those DWIs, they're flat fee. If you can compress the time it takes to adjudicate them, that's money in your pocket. So, yeah. So two and a half years ago, trying to pitch AI to an attorney was like trying to sell an Amish farmer a Mercedes-Benz S500. What am I going to do with this, right? And I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I'd go in there, and they didn't know what to do with me. So I went and got my I got my paralegal certification. It took me about a year. And because I was working with an attorney, he sponsored me. If you have a degree, you can get a paralegal certification. Massive. And not hard. I mean, I've had SAP certifications that were orders of magnitude were difficult, so pretty straightforward. But now they know how to talk to me. Because I can present instead of some AI guy, I can present as a paralegal, and I can speak their language. Very important, guys. If I had to say another insight, go deep, learn something. You need subject matter expertise. Man alive, do you need subject matter expertise? And that's what I did, right? Enough to get in and be able to have those conversations. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I deal with a lot of that. Most of them accept that a lot of the feds are using it. What I saw, actually to your question, once the feds greenlit stuff, everything changed. As go the feds, goes the entire industry, 100%, right? Because, especially the feds are kind of, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So that helped immensely, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of products out there. This business, like I come from a strong CRM background because I worked at like Salesforce, I worked at ServiceNow. I was early days CRM. Man, the legals, they suck. They're easy to work with, but they suck, right? So, and the other thing I saw was, man, I deal with a lot of boomers, so I'm always doing like, hey, fix my iPhone, and stuff like that. And so you have to take that into consideration. I find that I'm working with younger attorneys, it takes me 30 days to onboard them. Boomers, it takes 90. Gen X, maybe 60. It's not scientific, but just kind of anecdotal. But yeah, I think if you get someone with good IT skills, they learn faster, that's all. All right. Thank you.
There we go. All right. Give it up one more time for Robert and all of our presenters today. All right. And so, guys, those are all of our demos for the day. But I want to leave you guys with a gift. And so go ahead. Anthropic is giving us all API credits today. So as long as you guys checked in today, you are eligible. Just scan the QR code here. You will need your org ID, which I can't help you with because I don't even understand that half the time. But scan those. I don't know the dollar amount, but it is our free gift to you. After that, guys, we've got about 10 minutes left here before our curfew. So talk to anyone, finish up any conversations you had. Come up to me, let me know some good ideas for the next event. And we will see you guys next month. Thanks so much. Oh, last thing. If you guys need parking validation, Rihanna right there is holding those. So just come up to her, and we'll get you guys set up. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.